Citizen. I am your host, Tia Carol Jones. I'm here today with City Treasurer Melissa Conyears-Ervin. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Tia. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
It's good to see each other in person.
I know. Yeah. We've spoken on the phone
Yes, we have.
Yeah,
yes, we have all throughout the pandemic.
Yes.
But to be able to be here with you in person, I'm just excited.
Great. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so it's good to be on the South Side with you today. Especially, I always tell people I am a Chicagoan born and raised. Your city treasurer is you. That's what I tell our residents. So I am born in Inglewood, raised on the West Side. So I always tell people, watch out because I got a little bit of South Side and West Side in me. First in my family to go to college.
Okay.
I am a product of Chicago Public Schools, elementary, high school. Mother was a single mother who taught me to not be limited by my zip code. So she encouraged me to go to college, and there was a lot to learn being the first in my family, like so many others going to college. But I knew that it was funny at the time when I went to college. I saw my mother struggle. And it's funny at the time when I went to college, I said to myself, I'm going to make a lot of money when I graduate. And so I went into finance in college and didn't really know where that was going to lead me, but knew finance must have meant money. And so that's what I pursued. Graduated from Eastern Illinois University here in Illinois with my Bachelor of Science in Finance. Went on to work in corporate America because, again, I said, I'm going to make it big. I want to make a lot of money. And while in corporate America, went on to receive my MBA from Roosevelt University here in Chicago, in finance as well. And so I did corporate America. It was good to me. This black woman working for a Fortune 500 company, living the American dream, as they say. But something was missing, Tia. And I knew that I was a leader. You know, I was a part of leadership in college, did things and of that sort. But my love for people, Tia, it just was not being, that mission that I have was not being fulfilled in corporate America.
Okay.
My love of the community and that village that helped that single mother raise me. I was living on the West Side at the time. I've always lived on the West Side while I was working in corporate America. Didn't leave the community.
Okay.
But every day when I would walk out of our home and I would see what's going on, that it hit me. I really want to be a part of this solution. I love people. I knew that my mission was to be life-changing. And so I made one of the best decisions I could have made, and that was to leave corporate America and work for my community. And that's when I first ran for state representative, and love what I did with state representative, key legislations that I was able to pass while in Springfield. And one being when we were able to bring additional funding to CPS, and being a CPS graduate, that meant a lot to me. Additional $221 million that we brought to CPS while I was in Springfield as state representative. But also one of the key elements, when I became a state representative, I was a new mother at the time. My baby and I were traveling to Springfield. And yes, and I was a nursing mother, so I'm sitting on the house floor in Springfield for hours and hours in a day, and all this is going on that I need to get to the baby. And a lot of times I had the baby on the floor with me, on the house floor in the General Assembly, because I was a nursing mother. But it showed, again, for me, that's more appreciation. This is what women do every day. This is what mothers do every day. But also with that, me being a mother, knowing the importance of child care assistance, I really fought to restore the child care assistance that was cut. Almost 15,000 families. Let's see, that would have been in 2016. Almost 15,000 families were cut from child care across Illinois. And I was so honored to work on that behalf and champion families, champion for child care providers, that we were able, under the legislation that I proposed and passed, that we were able to restore those families to now re-qualify for child care assistance. It meant a lot for me as a young mother, working mother. So those are just a few things that we worked on, but that was my role as state representative. Then, while being state representative, this opportunity came about where there was going to be an open seat for city treasurer. Now, this is a very important part because what I tell people is that this is an elected position, and we'll talk more as to why that's so important, because this is an opportunity for me, number one, to use my education and experience in finance that I have, but also my love for people and my desire to work for the betterment of our community. And so this was a no-brainer for me to run for city treasurer, and I did that since 2019, 4 years, and still running every day, love what I do.
Speaking of that, you won re-election for city treasurer, and you were unopposed in your race. Why do you think there were no challengers?
Yeah, and that was amazing because 4 years ago it was a very contested race.
Yes.
Actually, the first that we've seen in Chicago's history, because most people say, I didn't even know we were electing city treasurers in the past. And what I would tell them is Chicago being Chicago's politics, although it was an elected position, in the previous positions of city treasurer, they were appointed first, and then they were elected. And by the time they were appointed, the elections were uncontested. And so for me, I did not gain this seat as city treasurer by appointment from the mayor.
Right.
I gained this seat by being elected by the people. Now that's going to make a difference, because as you are hearing initiatives that we're doing within the treasurer's office, for me, my mother always taught me to dance with the one that brought me to the table. So I dance with the residents because they are the ones that brought me to the table. That makes a difference because I know who I report to.
Right. I remember your campaign.
Yes. Oh, but then you asked about I'm sorry, I started there, and I was going to also say, you remember, because 4 years ago we were talking about this campaign. Very contested. So now with this, 4 years later, I was surprised, but I always tell people I work hard each and every day. I was surprised that I was unopposed, but I do work hard each and every day. Number one, just managing a $10 billion portfolio of taxpayer dollars, that alone is a lot of work, especially throughout a pandemic, that we've been able to do this with all the different changes in the market and everything that you name. I am always looking for the greatest return on investments. But I went to school for that, right? I've been in corporate America. I know how to do that. But the caveat to that is how I go further. This is why representation matters. Because for me, I tell my staff each and every day, if all we're doing is sitting behind closed doors making money, what does that mean if it's not life-changing? I need to change lives. That's my mission. And so I have taken this a step further, being represented by the people, that I walk outside of those doors and I make certain that I'm bringing the office to the residents. And so when you couple the investments portion of $10 billion, in addition to what I am doing to financially empower the residents of Chicago, I tell you, this isn't an easy job, but it's very fulfilling and it's very necessary. And I take great pleasure in it each and every day.
How is the city of Chicago helping small business owners in disinvested communities not only start businesses, but sustain them?
Oh, isn't that a great question? To not only start businesses, but sustain them. Because we know there are so many programs to help start businesses, but how do we make certain that they keep their doors open? A lot of places now, it's not necessarily brick and mortar, but how do they keep the businesses open? And so throughout the pandemic, when it first hit, it was time for government to truly step up. Most of my time in office has been throughout the pandemic.
Right.
And when I first came into office, the pandemic hit, and then we're like, oh my gosh, I'm learning the treasurer's office, but also understanding, and this is what women do. We get to work, right? We figure it out. Hey, we do what we have to do, trial by fire. And so it was important to me that I helped small business owners stay afloat throughout the pandemic. So there was a program that we did, the Chicago Small Business Resiliency Fund. We were able to provide loan assistance to small business owners in Chicago to help keep them afloat. But currently, also what we're doing that I'm so happy about, and I'm glad that you asked me this question because I want to get the word out about the partnership that my office is doing with Goldman Sachs.
Okay.
Now, everyone hear Goldman Sachs and they think, oh my gosh, that is Goldman Sachs, I have an opportunity to work with Goldman Sachs. Yes, you do. Let me tell you that there is a program that we are partnering with Goldman Sachs. It's titled 10,000 Small Businesses, Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. And what we're doing is that we're providing resources for free to small business owners, to entrepreneurs, because we want to help them to do two things. We want to help them generate revenue, and if they're already generating revenue, we want to help them increase that generation of revenue. I don't know how many small business owners don't want to do that, right? So we want to help them increase revenue, and we also want to help them increase jobs. And so we know, in turn, for me as treasurer, that's a no-brainer. If I help you as a small business owner, I help the community. Because what we have found is that small business owners are more inclined to invest in the community. Because most of the time they are from the community. And so you invest in what you believe in. You invest in where you live. And so we want to help small business owners. So for those that may not have heard about this initiative, this is a new initiative that we have this year with a partnership with Goldman Sachs. The application process is open. And if they go to my website, ChicagoCityTreasurer.com, or any places on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they'll find all the details on how to apply. The application process is open now until June 6th. And then from that point, the program starts in the fall. But the program helps. And I was listening to a young lady the other day talk about how she learned the difference in being a small business, what she said, an entrepreneur. No, this is how she started. She learned the difference between being a hustler, an entrepreneur, and a CEO through this Goldman Sachs program. And so I want to make some. This is what I love to do. I'm bringing these resources. This is an opportunity where small business owners or those that desire to be never thought they would have had access to. But it's those relationships that I have as treasurer. I have to bring those relationships to the community. That's what it's about.
So what are some of the ways the city of Chicago is investing in once disinvested communities to spur home ownership?
Oh my gosh. So personally for me, being a Chicagoan born and raised, from my humble beginnings in Inglewood and West Side, I watched my single mother become a homeowner. Matter of fact, when we moved from Inglewood to the West Side, she moved to the West Side because she became a homeowner at the time. That's when she purchased her first home. And watching this strong woman provide for her family and figuring it out was really eye-opening for me. A few years ago, when my mother passed, that home assets, because I want to talk about assets, that's what that home is. While it has sentimental value, it's an asset. That asset was passed down to her legacy. Watch this. So I talk about building generational wealth. The quickest and easiest way to build generational wealth, I think, is through home ownership. So I advocate for home ownership. Matter of fact here, I know so many residents right now today paying $1,500 in rent. And someone told me the other day, and that's cheap, paying $1,800 a month in rent, where mortgages doesn't even cost that much. So this is how people in our community, how we talk about poverty, they stay in, that's a cycle. It's never ending. If you're paying rent and you're investing into others, because it's not in yourself, you're paying that type of money every month and you can just walk away and you have nothing to show for it. Or a parent pass on and there's nothing left to that child. Oh my goodness. And so I think about that, and that's one of the things that I work hard at. So we have a program that we started, and it's called Hope Inside. And that information is where I encourage anyone that doesn't know about these programs, please go to our website, go to our social media channels. But we talk about Hope Inside program for free for Chicago residents, where we work to help residents improve their credit. This is to become a homeowner, to purchase auto loans, whatever, get the best interest rates. We also, of course, have small business owners in many ways, but we really do focus on helping residents increase their credit score. They have one-on-one counseling. They have workshops for free. This is a service that we're providing through my office. But in addition to that, that's one aspect. I want to help the individual. But on the other aspect, I also understand that I have to drive demand so that I can get these mortgages available and accessible. Once I get the individual prepared to purchase a home, I have to also look at the demand. And so that's another thing that I started this year, and I'm really proud. I have a great team. I talk about this mission. My team, they just bite into it. They know what the goals are, and we work hard at it. And so we, from the investment side of the house, we have a partnership with a woman-owned firm called RC List & Company. It's an investment firm where we have partnered together to invest in Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. And if you've ever thought about purchasing a home, you've heard of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We are investing up to $25 million in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac for Chicago, specifically the south and west sides of Chicago. We want to drive up the demand for mortgages on the south and west sides of Chicago. Now, when I talk about the $10 billion taxpayer portfolio, and I say I can sit in the office each and every day and just invest and make money, but if I'm not changing lives, what does that really matter? I'm taking $25 million from that portfolio, which is the taxpayers' money. It ain't my money. It's taxpayers' money. And I'm making it work for taxpayers. So taxpayers' money is being used to help drive up the demand for home ownership specifically on the south and west sides of Chicago.
So you began Money Mondays with Melissa in 2020. Mm-hmm. Why is that something you wanted to continue, and how is it going almost 3 years later?
I know, it didn't feel that way. When the pandemic hit, like I said, we were like, oh my gosh. And I spoke about the small business resiliency loans that we provided immediately when the pandemic started. But also, we came up with an idea, how do we help resident small business owners throughout this pandemic? Because when the pandemic hit, we focused a lot on physical health, which we should have, because we wanted people to be alive. We wanted them to live to make it through the pandemic. But what I also found was, after this pandemic, what do we do financially? When we come out of it, how do we be financially healthy? And so I wanted to make certain that residents did not fall behind during the pandemic. And that's where the idea of Money Mondays with Melissa came about. I really wanted to make certain that we had an aggregate of resources available for residents and small business owners. And so we convened and provided this information, and we had so many celebrity guests, as we will say, that joined us on Money Mondays with Melissa. And also, I can say it started as a way to make it throughout the pandemic, but I continue that even now. Matter of fact, the other day, we had a Money Mondays with Melissa series with Melody Hobson from Ariel Investments, as well as Melody's Fan Cooper. And we wanted to make certain that we are providing this information to residents firsthand, whereas they may have not received this information, don't necessarily know about this advice that is provided. We're providing this on a webinar, virtually, even today. And we will continue that because we're finding that even outside of the pandemic, some people are still struggling. Residents, small business owners, and I have found that these are resources that we need to continue.
What have you learned during your first term as city treasurer, and how are you using those things to enhance or improve how you run the office for your second term?
So this first term, I tell you, coming into office, immediately thereafter, a pandemic hitting, was really life-changing, I would say, but also fulfilling. I use that word a lot because it's important for me. I always say, if I can help someone, then my life would not be in vain. And so really fulfilling to be able to help residents throughout the city. And I talk a lot about the south and west sides of Chicago because that's where I'm from. But please know that I represent all of Chicago, and we're certain to provide these resources to all of Chicago. But what I have found, being from the south and west sides of Chicago, that many of times we feel as if we do not have access to these programs. And so when I'm speaking, I make certain that I mention south and west sides of Chicago, because I don't want people to hear me talking and just say that sounds great. No, it doesn't just sound great, it's for you. And I want our residents to know that in all communities that this is for you. And so when I think about what's to come, just the other day, we were at the beautiful Discovery Center out here in Chatham on the south side. I was just there the other day. And we hosted over 40 faith-based organization leaders. Because I talk about residents, small business owners. There are other non-for-profit organizations that need assistance. Not just for the organizations, but for the members that make up these organizations. So we hosted an event for faith-based leaders, and I can't tell you how many leaders responded to me, sent me messages to say, thank you for this information. This has been life-changing. And again, it won't stop for me because I'm always thinking about what groups we can help, who is in need, and how can we help them. I want to also plug in, I meet people that say, I didn't know you were doing this. I didn't know about this program. I encourage people, hey, I appreciate, first of all, Citizen, you all do a fantastic job in making certain that you promote what is happening in the community. And I thank you for this. What you're doing is so important. Citizen, what you're doing is so important. I know you've been around in our community for quite a long time, and I'm grateful that you're still going. And we need organizations such as you, because what's happening is that it's very difficult sometimes for us to get this information out to the community. And I know a lot of residents think, oh, you're the government. You have my name, my phone number, my email, my social security number. It doesn't work that way. Yes, I do work for the government, but I don't have access to all of your information. By that I mean, it's very difficult to get all of this communication out without organizations such as the Citizen that helps us to do that. I wish I had the emails of the 2.7 million residents in Chicago. I don't, right? And so I rely on organizations such as Citizen to help us get this information out. So thank you for that. And I would say to residents, small business owners, faith-based leaders, to those that may not have heard of these initiatives that I'm speaking of, please go to our website. Even in our website, you can sign up to receive email notifications from me. You can sign up through our website at chicagocitytreasurer.com. Again, if you forget that, just find me on social media. Not me personally, because of course I have a personal page, and a lot of people try. I'm like, no, go to the official page, find out how to get in contact with us, but find out what's going on. Follow us on social media. I assure you, there's so many things that are going on each and every day, and I want to get the word out. I want our residents and small business owners to know.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like our audience to know?
I'll just say, well, first, thank you for, number one, electing me and trusting me 4 years ago, and choosing me to represent you as your city treasurer. I want to thank the residents of Chicago for that. I'll also say to thank them for re-electing me into a second term as city treasurer. And please know that I'm not tired yet. Certainly, I feel that we have done a lot within these past 4 years, And my staff will tell you each and every day, I am always challenging them to go higher, to do more. And the reason being, when you're raised by a single mother in Inglewood, on the west side, and I mean, I've lived in just about every community on the west side. When my mother first purchased her home, it was in the Austin community on the west side. When I purchased my first home, it was in North Lundale on the west side. And my husband and I now live in Garfield Park on the west side. So, I mean, I have so many Chicago deep roots within just me alone. I get it. And I know the struggle of our everyday families. And so I say to the residents, there's more to come. I'm going to throw out this website again if you did not capture it, ChicagoCityTreasurer.com. Sign up through that website to receive our emails, notifications. Also, be certain to follow us on all of our social media channels. Usually the social media channels begin with Chicago Treasurer Melissa Conyears-Ervin. Very easy to find. And thank you again. I'm so excited about what Citizen does. Thank you again for providing such useful information to our residents each and every day.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Remember to make plans to join us again next week for Conversations with the Citizen, the place where real